So far, it's like about 10 after 6. This freeway has been a total disaster. First, there was a car stalled in the middle lane. Took forever to get around that mess. And then about 5 miles beyond that, another car stalled in the middle lane. So that's kind of the way the day's been going. I only have about 3 more miles before I can get to Highway 39 and get off of this mess. So see how long it takes me to get there. Listening to the news on the way, it really sounds like we're going to get a lot of rain in this area, especially around Azusa tomorrow and the next day. So that will be nice if it causes the East Fork to wash a lot of fresh gold down from those hills or wherever it comes from. So I might not get anything today, but I'll be back after the rains. Although I don't know if I'm going to be back this week, because Friday I'm supposed to go up to Randsburg and do some metal detecting up there. So maybe next week I'll be back if it sounds promising. I finally made it to the base of the San Gabriel, so it's about 6:25. And today I'm going to use my Angus McCurk. Now, the reason is, let me see. I guess I'm sort of a collector of sluices for some reason. Over the years, I've had I still have an Easy sluice. Let's see, a Prospector's Choice, a Bazooka, a La Trappe, one that's about 3 feet made out of ABS that's black. I got on the internet that has no name. I think it was like a prototype or something. What else do I have? Then I've got the Job, I've got the Royal, and I've got a Keen. Probably forgetting some, but as you can see, I've about tried them all. And some of them, they're for different. Oh, another one called Clean Gold. Now, out of all these, probably the La Trappe and the Bazooka are my favorite. I think I mentioned that before. But I've always put the Angus McCurk at the bottom of the list. But thinking about it, I think I haven't really been fair, because every time I've used it, it's turned out I've been in an area where I wasn't really on the gold. So I really have never been able to test it out when on a good spot. So if I happen to find a good spot today, we'll see what it does. If I don't find one today, well, I'll bring it again and give it keep giving it a shot till I till I get on some gold, and we'll see how good it works. So that's that story. As boring as it is, but gotta say something as I'm winding up the road here. Well, while I'm still cruising up there, I just thought, let me put in a little plug for Prospector Space Radio. If any of you prospectors out there never listened to it, go on the internet, prospectorspaceradio.com, and Sundays at 4:30 Pacific time, you just click on the little radio icon and it'll get the show going. And they have guests just yesterday they had Shannon. He's the president of AMRA, and real good organization. They've got good claims all over the place, and they try to help out people that are having problems fighting for their claims to keep them. And next week they're going to have Dakota Fred on there from the Gold Rush. I know he's not on this year. I understand the Hoffmans get like 22 or 23,000 an episode. He was only getting 12 or 13,000. He said, forget it. I think he's going to have his own documentary or something. He'll probably talk about that on the show. But yeah, tune in to Prospector's Space Radio Show, and they talk a lot about people can call in, ask questions, and it's a good show. I noticed even old West Coast Larry is on there now. He subscribed. It's free. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. And notice he's on there. Had one of your recycled videos, Larry, about the greatest prank ever. We need some fresh videos from you, so you need to get up here and get back to work. Miss your West Coast Larry videos. A lot better than old Larry videos talking about myself. At the end of today's escapades, I'm going to add on to the video part 2 of my Jeff Williams video. So a lot of you like Jeff Williams, so this will be part 2 of a little discussion he had that I went to. I'll probably have to divide the thing into 3 parts because I was there for like 2.5 hours, I think, and I got most of it recorded, but a lot of it you'll see I'll have on here is I had a couple big heads in front of me, so I'm kind of aiming the camera almost to the ceiling, so you'll just mostly be getting his voice and not his face, but you'll get the idea. Another thing, Jeff Williams says he's going to take myself and my 2 brothers on a claim. I think it's going to be the Keystone claim in Nevada sometime in the future, if he remembers. So we're looking forward to that. There's supposed to be some real good gold there, and that's after he has different videos he's been making. He has got to go up to Randsburg. He's making some there, and he goes all over the place. But anyway, when he ever gets done with all that, and if he remembers, I hate to keep bugging him about it, but if he remembers, he'll take us on the claim and we'll make a video of that, so that I'm sure will be interesting. Okay, finally to the East Fork turnoff here. Just that little rain we had already caused some rock slides up here. You really got to watch out. I was up here with brought my nephew Tim up here one time, and we were almost there, and there was some rocks in the road, and hit one of them that was sharp and had a blowout. So after the rains tomorrow and the next day, there's some there. I got to watch out for. This place is going to be a total mess. They'll probably get the little scraper up here to push the stuff out of the way, but I'm sure there's going to be rocks falling all over the place, and dirt and everything else if it rains the way they say it's going to. Yeah, the sun's trying to peek through the clouds up there. Well, this is right after the big weekend, the holiday weekend, and I bet there's going to be trash everywhere. Not from the prospectors or miners, but the people that come up to picnic. They leave dirty diapers and beer cans and beer can holders and you name it up here. It's usually a total disaster. Of course, they blame it all on the prospectors and the papers when they write about it, but we usually end up taking the trash out. So we'll probably see some of that. Oh, see a bunch of rocks in the road here. Don't want to hit any of those sharp ones. And so we'll see what it looks like. I'm going to mention that, thinking about that AMRA and their claims, they have one up in Northern California. Let's see, what is it called? It's either the Queen Anne or Sweet Anne, something like that. But it's like, out of all theirs, it's the one that says it's the most treacherous to get to. You have to park, and you have to, have a 4-wheel drive just to get to where you park. And then on top of that, you have to be prepared to be in great shape and hike for a whole day in really rugged terrain where there's mountain lions and everything else waiting for you. But once you get there, it's supposed to be like their best claim. But there's, one guy, I think in '97, when you're able to dredge, he was getting potato-sized nuggets out of this area. And Shannon, the president, said, people have said they're going to go up there, but when they get there and look down at this giant canyon that they're going to have to go down, they all turn back. But he's talking about if somehow he could get a helicopter. That would really be something, to go to a place like that. The old timers didn't clean this out. The reason being, they like to divert the water. And in this particular area, they tried, but they weren't able to do it. So, I mean, potato-sized nuggets have been found in this area. And nobody's primarily messed with it for years now. So, I wish I had the means to hire a helicopter and be dropped down there. But that's not going to happen. So I'll have to settle for the crumbs here at San Gabriel. This information is just for any of you newbies. I know anybody else knows, but when you try to move a boulder like this and you see mud stuck to it and gravel, try to scrape that off and run that too, because a lot of times the gold gets stuck to these rocks. I didn't bring my bucket classifier or any kind of classifier, just actually I had one with me in the car, but it's just too hard to haul this stuff down to this location, especially wearing boots. It gets kind of hard to slippery and all that, trying to get a grip with these rubber boots on. So I was afraid I might fall if I had too much to carry. So obviously you see there's a lot of gravels in there and rocks and all that. So what I'm going to do is just try to wash them off, or put them in the sluice and let them wash it off, and see if we come up with something. It does look promising, this last hole I dug. Okay, I hiked up a little ways from where I was to an area where I noticed way up on a hillside some quartz stringers in the rocks. So I went up that way and I found a lot of float below it, a lot of quartz. So those are usually good signs. I'm not going to show a picture of the quartz stringers because I don't want to give away my location here, but anyway, I'm going to get us some samples from here. Well, I did a lot of sampling, a lot of digging, a lot of prospecting, and got a little bit there in the pan. I have to clean it up when I get home. I'm about had it for today here, but a little bit, but that's for all the sampling I did. That's not that much. So I didn't find the glory hole. Of course, if I did after the rains the next couple of days, probably would have been covered over anyway. So we'll just have to come back next week after all the rains are done. Anyway, I'll show you once I get home and clean it up. I'll show you what I have. Well, one way or the other, it turned out to be a beautiful day out here. It's probably in the high 50s or low 60s, I'm not sure. You find some strange things people leave down here. Somebody left a big old suitcase. Why would that be down here? It looks like over here somebody's trying to move that rock. Got a rope still tied around it. There's just a taste of that trash I was talking about that the picnickers leave here. Even left a thing of suntan lotion. All this junk. It's like an old frame to a car or something. I don't know. Here's some more. Just it's everywhere. See, they don't pick anything up. It's down to water. It's just a complete mess. Even got it hanging up in the tree. Here. Yeah, this is Larry, Randy, and Steve. We're kind of checking out an area here. Undisclosed location. There's those black rocks, I think.
Hey, the trail comes right through there. If we went up on the trail and looked up there, would we see
Yeah.
Look at this right here. This is what do you call it? Bedrock.
Oh yeah.
That'd be a good place to look in the cracks for the.
There's a pile again here, unless it just naturally does that. Okay, we're in a undisclosed location. And we're in a creek where we think we might find some gold. And it's going to be very convenient for us, if there is. Yeah. Okay. So what do you think, Steve? What should we do? Well, Randy found a ring and some other earring.
Steve found some kind of
metal
ring too,
detector.
but it was like all beat up.
Let's see if it's... Yep, this is magnetic.
Well, that little pin there.
Oh, yeah.
What about this part?
Nope. So that's not magnetic, so something.
This, I think it's copper, because I could see like somewhere I saw it scraped and there looked
So
like
just
copper
kinda
there or
plated
something.
maybe or something.
Yeah, they got copper there.
There's some for everybody.
This, I know this sounds stupid, but I'm going to go over this again. Remember, gold is heavy, 19.3 times heavier than water. This right here tells you a lot of information. Why? Because basically it's saying gold's heavy, it's going to drop to the lowest point. I need to understand the geology of the terrains or the surrounding rock or the surrounding gravels to understand where that gold is going to be because it's so heavy. That'll tell you a lot of information right there. So, once again, desert versus water course. You better know what you're doing, because if you're out in the water course and you use these types of rules, oh, you ain't gonna find nothing. I guarantee it. So remember, there's two types of terrains, and you have to know, because gold in a water course area will follow a straight line. That's the neat thing about gold when it's being deposited by water. Desert, it's random. You could find a nugget here and nothing for miles, and you'll be stumped going, did that get there by glacier? Was a mountain here at one time? What? Tectonic movement? Did it fall out of a guy's pocket? What? So, this is a whole different ballgame. This, I like this because you got water. You trust me, when you're panning, you already got the water there. That's fantastic. You can set up high bankers. You can set up a sluice box. So this is the way you want to go. But because of that, a lot of people leave this alone, which means there's more gold out here than there is here. Now, I know people are going to argue with me and say, no, Jeff, I know. Yeah, I know. But for the most part, these areas are mostly claimed up. These areas have been hammered to death. And these areas, if I could find more gold in this area than I could this area. So, anyway, remember that there's two different approaches to this. Desert, remember that gold got there probably from a lode deposit eons ago. I'm not going to get into Geology 101, but it was deposited there. The mountain it came from or the deposit may be gone. You may be out there going, I'm finding float, which is quartz, all over the place. I got specimen gold, which is gold and quartz. And I'm finding little nuggets here and there. It's really super rough. That means the vein must be nearby. Yes and no. That vein might have disappeared about 3 million years ago. Or maybe during the Precambrian period. You don't know. Unless you're a geologist and you actually know those rocks inside and out, you're not going to know.
The video, he actually had like a lot more that he processed, or if that was all.
Yeah, I think that's all he did for that one.
You see that limonite from there?
Yeah.
Make a nice paperweight.
Oh yeah.
So it's an old band tree you had there?
This is just pure
What is
lead.
the size of that? Is
Sitting in the area, when you have a claim.
Oh, right. Now, did you make
It's the color, right? That's just like the calico horse, right? Yeah.
Zinc, a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, all mixed together. Yeah, we've had some time. That's the silver.
About that video where you show the parts process. How much galena did you actually use in it?
Tons of galena. That was an example.
The bit you had, I was like, there's no way you got
No,
that silver out.
no. Okay, so when we went to the Ivanpah range, there is gold coming out of there. there, if you guys know that range, there's the Morning Star mine that's up in there, which produced a whole bunch of gold. If you go up by the Billy Boy mine, there is gold in those washes. You just have to know what to look for. Now, how do we do it? Because you're probably thinking, well, I've been up there and I haven't seen nothing. First of all, locate your black sands. It's really, really easy to find. Two ways to do it. You can either use rare earth magnets to find it. What we'll do is we'll take a copper pipe and we'll stick a whole bunch of rare earths in there and we'll run it through the sand. And it picks up those black sands like nobody's business. It's one way. Because a lot of times the black sand's not on the surface. A lot of times it can be underneath the surface, just about that far. Or use a VLF machine. And you're going to go over it. Now trust me, if you know your VLFs, you're going to hear that distinctive bong, bong. It's going to give you that bell sound. And what you're going to do is you're going to take one of those little construction flags that you see the guys who are looking for gas lines. You're going to stick it in the dirt where you hear that bong. And you're going to move a little forward, listen for it again. Put another one in there. And you're going to, if you don't hear it no more flags. And you're going to go all the way up the wash. Yep, those little tiny flags. So, then what do? Well, you're going to see a pattern. You'll see that pattern going down through the wash. Set up your dry washer. Work where those flags are at. Now, it's not going to be super good gold. It'll be fine, more like what they call flood gold. But it's an easier way to figure out where to dry wash if you're looking for some of that nice fine gold. Chances are it came from up higher, so that's a good indicator. Once you're done there, work your way up. Start looking for bedrock exposures. If you can find bedrock, look for any cracks that are running perpendicular to that wash. Dig them out with these tools right here. That's what these are for. Then what you're going to do is you're going to sample that. If you start seeing gold that was bigger than the gold you got out of the wash, you're on a winning streak. Keep following that. If all of a sudden the gold disappears, guess what? You just walk past the supplying source. Could be a vein that's exposed or not exposed. It could have been weathered years ago. Maybe it's still there. Maybe it's right under the surface. Maybe you're standing on a jackpot. So you're going to go back and you're going to follow each one of the side runners that come in, the dry washes, and if you can't find it, you're going to keep backing up until you do. If it stops and there's nothing else, chances are it's either a vein that's inside the bedrock or it's weathered away and you're out of luck, one of the two. So, like I said, check to see if the gold is getting bigger. You've got to be a detective when it comes to gold. You just don't go, oh, I found gold, I'm rich. No. Because if you can find where it came from, you won't have to work ever again. And that's the whole reason why we're here. Well, kind of. So, I ain't getting into that. But anyway, so that's what you're going to do. We found it very effective in dry washes. Now, also you can do it in water courses. A lot of these detectors are waterproof. And I like the VLS for this. What you're going to do, and also the Garrett ATX is waterproof too, up to 10 feet. What are you going to do? You're going to go out into some of these creeks, and you're going to be walking across there, and you're just going to be searching. Now, you can either check for nuggets, which is what everybody wants, or you can check for black sand deposits. And if you hear it, same thing. And you'll notice in water courses, it'll be more of a straight line, because gold follows a straight line in water, not in the desert. Put those flags in. Then you're going to go back. You're either going to try to figure out if you can use a high banker, if you're going to use one of these little suction pumps. You're going to have to figure out how to get it out of there. It depends on the situation, because I can think of 10 different pieces of equipment to get it out. Based on the state, though, that depends. California, no dredging, sorry. I don't know why. I can tell you what I think is going on, but anyway. So, back to this one. You're going to follow that up till the gold gets bigger. You're going to look for deposits down in the bedrock. Sometimes, another thing I want to mention real quick. And we'll go back to the Ivanpah Range. I like that area. Okay, so Ivanpah Range. Basically, Ivanpah Range is there's an intrusion of granite there, most of the mountain chain. And on the west flank is mostly silver and tin. On the east flank is mostly gold. I'm not going to tell you why, because that's Geology 101. So. You're going to stay away from the west flanks. You're going to only deal with the east flanks. That's where all your gold is. As you travel north in that range, it starts the geology. You'll see the fault lines starting to shift, and it'll actually, in those contact zones, you'll have high concentrations of copper. So that's always a good mix. If you have copper in the mix, that's always good. If you're looking for gold, you'll see green in the rock. I brought samples of it here somewhere. Okay, getting back to this range. So you're going to see where you have these alluvial deposits, and here's the intrusion of granite right here. A lot of the old timers, what they did, first of all, to find some of these spots is they said, you know what? I know that wherever there's faulting or contact zones, things of this nature, that's a good area to be looking for gold. So what I'm going to do is I'm walking around. Of course, I'm going to sample the washes, but I'm looking for color changes. So I see red. Ooh, red's always a good sign. That means iron. And I see black, or I see copper carbonate, or I see other colors. I'm going to look where they come together, and I'm going to start sampling that zone where they come together. That's called a contact zone. And a lot of your mineralization is going to be in there. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Sometimes it might be on the outer walls, and that's footwall, hang wall if you're in a tunnel, and I won't get into that. So you're going to look for your contact zones. You're going to look for different colorizations in the rock. That means that the minerals are different for whatever reason. Blacks, manganese oxide, volcanics, basalts, things of that nature come in contact. You want your intrusive rocks. Those are the ones that are down on the ground, like granites and things like that, that have forced their way up over eons of time. You can tell the difference between extrusive and intrusive rock. The intrusive rocks have tiny little fine grains in them, like a good one, or rhyolite is a good extrusive rock. It has tiny fine grains. Intrusive rocks are like granite. They have large crystals in them. You don't want too big of crystals in there. Pegmatites, am I pronouncing that right? Thank you. Are very large crystals, and those usually support gemstones, things like that. You don't want them too big. Anyway, getting back to this. So you're here and you're finding gold, and you're walking along, you're happy. The gold's getting bigger. Now, what you're looking for is this right here, where this elevation changes. Look in spots here, or if all of a sudden there's a flat spot here where it levels off, you're going to check this area where the gold has a chance to settle out. Because you remember, even though it's dry, during the rainy season, that water's coming down and flash flooding, moving stuff around. And trust me, it'll move that gold too. But where it settles out and the pressure drops on that, the gold will drop out, just like in a watercourse area. So you want to check areas where the altitude changes. That's why you need to learn how to read topo maps, because you can actually go on to Google Earth and you can look up the elevation on there and say, look, I got elevation changes that are really steep in this area, and then all of a sudden they flatten out here. This is where I'm going to start going up to start sampling. At least, you know, give me an idea of what's in the area. So remember, your elevation drops are very important. That gold needs to have that water pressure to help low water pressure to drop out. So remember that. And like I said, if the gold is here and you're finding placer gold, chances are it might have come from a low deposit that's up here. So if you guys are really adventurous and you're finding gold, climb around on the mountains and see if you see any float. Float is basically white quartz, and once again, it doesn't have to be gold and quartz. It can come in a whole variety of things. I've seen it in black rhyolite where there's no quartz whatsoever. It's just gold it's fragmented throughout the rock. Up around Story County, Virginia City, the gold there is totally in this, it's like a robin's blue type of material. You can't even see the gold in there. It's a really weird material, and you have to use the washout process to get it out. Anyway, so you're going to look for float. It's just chunks of white rock that look like this, that are going to be down the hillside. And you're going to get your little jeweler's loop out, which is right here. And you're going to get in the sun, and you're going to look for little itty bitty fragments of gold, especially in these little cracks and fissures that run through the rock here. And that's another subject. I could talk about foliation of rock, where the gold is usually on slate and shale on these foliations because of the deposits. Anyway, for this conversation, we're going to talk about float coming down off of this lode. So if you find gold up to here, start scouring the hillside, you could find it. Now remember, it might have some material washed over the top of it, burying it just a little bit. So use your BLF and just kind of scour the sides of the hills and listen for that sound. Remember, don't listen for that huge bang. It's going to be like a quiet sound, unless of course you hit the mother lode. So just keep that in mind when you're finding placer deposits. Very important. Any questions so far? Yes, sir.
BLF is like the gold bug? Is that?
Yeah, I'll show you.
All right.
Oh, okay. We got BLF's house, if you guys know about that.
And how about, you talked about earlier, mentioning that when you look black sand, you're walking up a wash and you're getting signals, will they work for that too? Because that's what I
Yeah,
have.
VLFs will work.
Okay.
When you know your machine, it'll make that kind of a bell bong sound. That's the only way I can describe it. Gold has a more sharp sound to it. Iron has a rounded sound to it. That's the only way I can describe it. So you're going to mark those areas. You find gold in there, it's small. You're going to find out how much gold you're finding, the size of the flakes. You're going to inspect it to see is it rounded or is it rough. It's very important. If it's rounded, it means it's been moving a lot. So you're going to use that as a sample to go up further, and you're going to sample a little further and a little further. Trust me, it's like being a detective. If you really want to get into this and make it pay for itself, you've got to go all the way. If you just want to find some gold, great. I got boxes of pay dirt right here. I'll sell you. 50 bucks a box. Pan it. You'll have more gold than you've probably ever seen in your life. So, well, not for all of you. I know some of you guys work in mines or mining engineers. So, okay. So, any questions about black sands? No? Now, I'm surprised nobody's asked me, but you can roast black sands to release the gold that's locked up inside of them. That's a whole nother process. I'm not a big advocate for roasting because it releases a lot of fumes that, unless you know what you're working with, I don't advocate it. You could get sick, or you might say, hey, I'm going to throw some of this arsenopyrite in there just for fun. And next thing you know, you're going to the hospital and you have health conditions because of it, and some people have them for life after that. Don't roast ores unless you know what you're doing. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know, the magnetite, of course, you can get rid of that with a magnet if you need to, but how about hematite? Is that sometimes slightly magnetic or usually not magnetic?
Well, getting back to the gentleman's question, you got magnetite and hematite. Hematite is more of a reddish color. If it's in, like I've got a lot of limonite there, it is slightly magnetic, but not as much. It can be in higher concentrations, but not as much as magnetite. Magnetite is basically, that's why it has that name, because you can pick it up with a magnet. It's mostly iron. Hematite doesn't have as much iron in it as magnetite, but it is slightly magnetic, but not as much. It has more of a red hue to it. Not like cinnabar, but it does have a red hue to it. But you will find it like in your laterite family. That's limonite. Limonite is basically decomposing iron pyrite, which is iron sulfide. Basically, it's oxidized out all the sulfur, and it's left behind all that nasty red iron. That's why it turns to that color. And any gold associated with it is sitting in there with it as well. Crush it up, get the gold out. It's that simple. Does all limonite have gold? No. Some limonite, yes. That's why research. You got to do your research. You got to find out, is it gold-bearing limonite or not? Now, here's a question that somebody asked me the other day on one of my websites. They said, Jeff, what's the difference between skarn and limonite? And I thought, wow, that's a good one. That is a good one. So I actually had to do a little research on it. Skarn is produced by polymetallic replacement deposits. I won't get into the full description of that, but yes, skarn looks like limonite. It's red, it's nasty looking, and it'll stain your clothes red, but it's not the same as limonite. Limonite is basically what's left over when iron pyrite is basically oxidized out completely. And sometimes you can still see the little cubes left behind in there too from the shapes. But skarn also produces gold. But remember, do your research. Gossans, you have to know what gossans look like if you're going to be doing load. Why? Because a gossan is a red, what they call the red hat or the iron hat. And that tells you that there's probably gold somewhere inside of it. That's how they found the Vulture mine in Arizona. It's a big old gossan sticking up out of the ground. And Wickenburg came up on it and he started chiseling, and guess what? There was free mill gold in it. And woohoo! Of course, he shot his brains out because he lost his mind to a big mining company. But anyway, that's another story. So, I tell you volumes about that. So, huh?
Where'd the vulture come from?
Oh, that's a myth, that he shot a vulture that was sitting on top of the load, and so he named it the Vulture Mine. I think he was naming it after the lawyers who took his mine from him. Okay. Nice drum roll. All right. So, that's how you work dry washes. Like I said, this is the basics. I don't want to get too far in this. A lot of my videos, I try to cover desert prospecting. The dry washers are great sampling gear. If you have a Key 141 or a Gold Buddy or whatever, They're great for sampling. People say, well, I just use it to do, no, you can use it as a sampler too, trust me. Sample here, sample there, so on and so forth. You can't sample enough. Mining companies spend billions of dollars sampling. They'll do core drills for eons to start boring the shaft in there. They have to know what's in that ground before they sink money in there, because they're not going to spend $2-3 billion if there's only a small pipe shoot of gold in there. So they're going to go through and they're going to find out, is the gold, is it difficult to get it out? Is it refractory, free mill? I mean, all these variables. And of course, they got chemists in there and they're doing assaying. And I won't get into fire assays if you guys know what that is. That's a good way to determine what's in the rock, your ounce per ton ratios. That's a whole nother thing. And we were going to do a video on using cupels and cupellation. And basically it's the separation of noble metals from base metals using lead. So that's a whole different story. But anyway, so getting back to this guy. So pay streaks. I love pay streaks. Now remember, when you're working in watershed areas or anywhere there's water, gold does a funny thing. It likes to make a straight line. And I tell people, oh man, it's not that difficult if you know what you're doing. Okay, first we're going to start off with, I've had so many questions about this. Everybody knows about this. Okay, so this is a winding river, like the song. I forgot who sung that. North to Alaska. Anyway, so everybody knows that when you're checking, you always check the inside bends. Here, and here, and here.
Right.
Okay, the reason why, and I know you guys know this, but I'm going over it for the people who may not know this, is that, once again, water pressure. That has a lot to do with the gold dropping out. The water pressure around the corners is a lot less than the water pressure over here. Just imagine people marching, and all of a sudden they go around a curve. The guy on the inside is practically standing still. The guy on the outside, he's running his butt off, trying to catch up. If you guys are in the service, you probably know that. So, anyway, so you got these low pressure zones right here, and here, and here. So that's where the gold's going to drop out. And over time, you're going to see that this river starts to move this way. So originally it was here, it's going to go out here, it's going to go out here, it's going to go out here, and pretty soon the river's way over here. So what you want to do is, like I said, you need to sample the inside curve here to find out exactly where your gold lines are at. And like I said, it'll do the same thing. A lot of times you'll have a straight line, it'll come in through there. Now if it's a sharp curve, you can throw that straight line out the window, because it's not going to do that. It's going to follow the water course. But just remember that river is going to slowly start cutting that way. So, and what you want to do is look for the larger stones. I've seen so many guys go out there and they just start digging in these gravel bars that are on the side of these inside bends. Look for the size of the stone. It's very important. If you got big old stones here and silt over here, well, I'll tell you what, the gold's not going to be in the silt. It's going to be in these gravels right here, these heavy-duty gravels. And if you can get down to bedrock, that would be ideal, because that gold over time is going to settle down. A little stratification is nothing for gold over 1,000 years, nothing. So, and like I said, not all gold is on bedrock. Yes, a lot of it's on bedrock, but sometimes bedrock is overrated. So, but if you can get down there, sample on your way down, but remember that river is moved. And this brings me to another thing, back to mineral bar. I'll tell you a little secret about mineral bar, outside of Colfax. The gold, people have been wanting to know where that gold's coming from, and I know where it's coming from. If you go upstream from the bridge, yeah, I know, I shouldn't be telling people this, but anyway, go upstream from the bridge. The gold was laid down from an ancient river channel. Where's that river channel at? If you're going on the right-hand side of the river, past the old bridge, go up into the tree line, you're going to see a small, hard-packed zone of river channel. That is where the gold is coming from, and that's how it was laid down. Most of the gold is right before you come to that first right-hand bend. If you go past that, you're done. There's no more gold. The river channel is right there on the right. That's some nasty country. There's bears there. There's poison ivy. Trust me, I'm not doing you any favors by telling you where it's at, because I tried to deal with it. I got some gold out there, but I'm not going back because it's just too much work. But if you can rig up a line to where you can run it down from the channel down to the river, and then shuttle your buckets back and forth to. Yes, sir.
Is this, can this be used, what you just described on the curvature, can that be used in our desert in our desert washes the same as what you're talking about in the river? Can we expect the same thing?
You can use
In a
that
sense?
same formula, like say you're going down and you'll see where the wash widens out, and then you'll see like the gravel bars in the center and the huge piles of rock. If there's any gold, check in where those larger rocks are at. Don't look for the fine stuff, look for the heavier rocks. I know it's a lot of work. Try to get down to the caliche if you can, because that's probably what you're thinking of, because there's a lot of caliche, especially in Arizona. That's their false bedrock. But it does work the same, because the water will flood down through there. But because the water here is constant, and it's not constant out in the desert, it's not going to be so nicely assembled in these lines as it is going to be out in the
Be more
desert.
spotty?
Yes.
Just more
But
spotty? Okay.
like I said, check the inside bends. Like I said, the gold is a lot different out in the desert. I would check the hillsides, because a lot of times you have the gold is actually being washed out from the hillsides down into the arroyos.
So check feeder washes.
Exactly. So the desert is a whole different animal. I would definitely be checking more than just here. I mean, here, I know that gold has probably been washed out from one of these side channels that have come down, or maybe an ancient river channel. So, but in the desert, it's anybody's game, because the terrain changes. The desert is actually changing over millions of years. The King Tut area is a good example. The hill is this way. It's going towards the Grand Wash Cliffs, but a long time ago, it was actually setting the other way. So it took me a long time to figure that out, and that's why most of the gold is on the south side of the arroyos instead of the north side of the arroyos. Anyway, that's a whole different story. So, okay, so back to this guy.